Hello, my name is Wes Dawson, and I would like to welcome you back to the highly anticipated and honestly self-described return of Ghostbustin' Wes. Now, originally, the idea was to follow the work on this beautiful Spirit of Halloween pack in a lot more detail. That obviously did not happen for a myriad of reasons. We won't get into too many details with that, but you may see this episode split into two episodes in a very sloppy manner. I mean, there may just be like a conclusion cut in there that makes no sense in terms of the rest of the episodes that I can cut it into two blocks. We'll see, because there's quite a bit to talk about. Now, this pack, it turned out great. Originally, I was working on it very slowly, a process, as it went. I was not rushing anything. And then there was a Halloween party I wanted to get ready for, so it was go time. So there are certain things I didn't get to finish, some things I didn't quite do as I wanted to, but I'll get into all that shortly. So as a fan, when I wore this to a Halloween party, I was really concerned about the size of this neutrino wand. And that's not a euphemism for anything. I was just really worried, it really doesn't fit. The pack itself looks great. Turned out beyond my expectations for how quickly I rushed it at the end of it. Not one person noticed. Unless someone was another big Ghostbusters fan, I don't think you have to worry about that too badly. But let's get a better look at this thing. All right, so before I break off to more of a point of view to kind of show the pack off and different things I did to it, the biggest immediate change I'll be doing will be swapping out this little, the stock Spirit of Halloween neutrino wand for the Spengler wand. I decided to pre-order a second one for my Hasbro pack and use this one to make, oh boy, careful. If it lasts, we'll see. All right, so something I said in a few of my last videos is if you want to get into building stuff like this, even as a casual hobbyist, getting a 3D printer is a wise investment, though mine has been defunct for a little while, trying to get it back going. A lot of this pack, a lot of things that really make it pop were additional 3D prints. One thing is this ribbon cable really adds to it. The ribbon cable, the ion arm, was purchased through a Ben of Kent kit, as well as the stickers. And I bought the wand kit, of 100% wand kit, but I think what I might do is build it and use it as a display piece, and buy that second Spengler wand I bought, install that onto the Hasbro pack. So here we got the switch I had bought off Etsy, wired in, powering up the lights. On my Instagram, you can see the sounds working with it, but I'll explain that a little bit after. The sounds, it's more of trickery that I do with my cell phone and a Bluetooth speaker mounted to the back of the pack than an actual soundboard or anything installed into the pack itself. Let's take a look at... So one criticism I heard, this is the Rothco Alice frame. I've seen a lot of people drill the hole just as I did right through here, and it weakened the structure of the frame itself quite a bit. I'll have to wait and see. I think for the Spirit pack, the weight's not quite so bad. One issue I did have is the quick release on the straps itself. It really loves the quick release. I tried taping it, didn't quite work. I'm going to have to put some tie wraps and sort of rig that up so it doesn't come apart. Other than that, it held up pretty well. No complaints overall. And I think for the Spirit pack, it fits pretty good. I don't know for the Hasbro pack if it's going to look kind of minuscule strapped to the back of it, but find out hopefully in spring of 2023. So like I was saying, a lot of the parts on this are 3D prints that really help make this pack stand out. Here, let me get that wand out of the way. Basically, all that's left of the electronics of the original Spirit of Halloween pack is just the light and the tip. The other lights inside are, well, you'll see when I open it up. And the sound, I took it apart and I realized, I'm going to wire the speaker back in. But then the sound effects through my Bluetooth speaker were 1,000 times better than what sounds like something dying in a garbage disposal. So I decided to just leave the speaker out and stick with my Bluetooth. All right, so immediately, this booster tube here is a 3D print with scratched up and metallic paint on it. Turned out quite well. The knob here is also a 3D print, which originally was supposed to spin. It has, I think it's ready to come off now. It has the nut of a bolt glued into the back of it with a couple washers to let it spin, but then the bolt didn't want to quite stay in. Didn't have time to fix it, so now I just kind of glued it in place and hoped that it didn't fall off during the party or any time I'm out with the pack. The booster ladder here is also a 3D print with a lot more texture on it than what was originally on the pack, the Spirit of Halloween pack. Try and step out a bit. The entire clippered valve here is a reprint. I basically cut this out with my Dremel bit. So here's the original one that was cut out of it. It was printed a flat circle and then bolted that on and glued it in place. The shock mount itself is all 3D print with no actual paint other than the weathering and the slime on it. Beautiful PLA print that. I'll put a link for it in the description. It's everyone PLA metallic print, and it turned out great. A lot of shine to it. These bumper covers, those are the money shot right there. Those really make the difference. I wish I had I'll try and splice in like a comparison of the original Spirit of Halloween packs. It makes a huge difference. Just adding a bit of size and a bit of weight to the cyclotron covers bumpers here. Yeah, can't talk enough about that. So there was other things I wanted to do, other pieces I wanted to try and print. Really, all the brass fittings here, I wanted to reprint them and paint them better. I didn't have time, so those will maybe be coming at a later time. But let's say we flip this thing over and get a look at it. Before I open this up, I think one thing I'll show, some people may be impressed with this wonderful battery plate cover. You certainly won't be impressed with how my battery setup is inside. So this is just on magnets right there. It's really just everything kind of taped in place until I can 3D print some mounts for my 9-volt and my original battery pack. So basically this is just a raft from one of my 3D prints, painted, some hot glue added to the edges, the sticker from the Benekent kit put into the center, and some magnets glued to the back. It worked pretty well. I think I may tether it in so that it can't fall off the pack. It's just if you're moving around a bit, it does seem to like to come loose. But anyway, I thought it ended up being a pretty creative way to be able to access my batteries without having to take anything off. Although at the party, I brought a bag of tools just in case I had to open this thing up. All right, so I immediately ran into some trouble taking the back off. The paint on the motherboard was still fresh enough. It stuck and pulled these little metal grommets, sort of how they're called, out of my corner pieces, which is not too helpful. So these are what my Alice frame bolts into in the corner pieces here. Hopefully I can get those back in without causing too much damage. All right, well, let's continue. So like I said, the battery setup is nothing to write home about. Basically, I put enough tape that I could still access the batteries if I had to change them. I was concerned that the lights, that the light kit I bought wouldn't last the night, so I had bought a whole bunch of 9-volt batteries I was hauling around for the rest of the evening. No need, it lasted quite a bit, so that really wasn't a concern. So one thing you may notice missing is a sound bar or any kind of sound pack. So this Bluetooth speaker was mounted on the back of the motherboard in the corner over here. And basically, anytime I would power it on, I downloaded different sound effects. The Ghostbusters theme was already on Spotify, things like that. And I would time myself turning the switch on with playing the song. And after a couple tries, I got it down pretty good so that people actually thought it was the sound effect built into the pack itself. This little speaker for 20 bucks off Amazon, it also plays loud enough that it vibrates the pack itself. So it gives a really cool effect that if it's sitting on a table, you can hear it rumbling. So really, that turned out way better than I could have expected. So the Spirit of Halloween lights are still there. They're just kind of jammed into the bottom of the pack. I'm going to, I don't know, try to put them to use to some degree. Not too sure what I'm going to do. My light kit I had purchased, so they're just sitting in these little cups. This was for the speaker, for the Spirit of Halloween speaker, that in the end I decided to just discard. Glued them into this, glued them into place. They stayed pretty good so far, no complaints. And I know the hot glue, some people are real big on that. I find hot glue is good to tack things into place, not for anything to permanently stay there, because I find it just dries up and cracks pretty easy. So anywhere I could, like you can see the booster ladder here, whoops, the booster ladder there, I actually bolted it in place. Anywhere I could, I bolted things down like legit to make sure that the wear and tear wearing the pack wouldn't have any effect on that. And the actual light bar itself is just bolted onto, it could be any scrap piece of plastic. I had printed out an actual bracket to hold lights. Wasn't the same model, so it didn't quite fit right. So I cut it down, had it bolted to the side, found the right height, and then just marked it with my marker where I needed it, glued this in, then bolted it in, and attached my lights. Everything worked fine. All right, so I couldn't even mount the pack back up to the motherboard for the rest of the video like I wanted to. As I was trying to say before, these little grommets or grombits, I don't know what they're called, these were what are in the little wood blocks in the corner of the pack, and this would bolted the motherboard to the pack. But when I painted this motherboard, the paint was still so fresh that, I don't know if you can see, the paint really embedded around it, and it kind of pulled itself out. Actually, get a good shot of that. A couple people were asking me, how was I walking around with this thick-ass steel plate on my back all night? And I was like, no, this steel plate is a piece of MDF. So the paint turned out amazing, that it really, really looked like steel, and the weathering on it just adds to the effect. But really, it doesn't weigh that much. After a while, it did catch up, though. The pack itself, I don't know, weighs 15, 20 pounds. It's not excessively heavy. But after a few hours of wearing it, I was starting to feel it on my lower back. And even with that, I was also worried about the battery life for the lights. Lasted all night, or at least up until I had enough beverages of a certain sort that I was not going to risk wearing my Proton Pack around for the rest of the evening. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the paint on this bad boy here. I think one rule of thumb to keep in mind is don't cross the streams. My God. Okay, and what I mean by that is certain paints, like this Krylon metallic finish paint, which looks great. I use it on my Ghost Trap. I use it on different things. Looks good. Doesn't play nice with any of the other paints. It seems like the hammered black paints, any of these things, they don't mix well. I'm trying to think if I have a piece to show. Yes, I do. So this was the silver metallic with hammered black on top. It would not bond. I know I didn't sand this very well or put any Bondo on it, but I mean, the paints don't seem to want, I don't know, the chemical side of it, something inside the paints. Anyway, I learned pretty quick, don't go too crazy with the paints. Originally I don't know if you can see here, I got like different pictures of the types of paint jobs I wanted to do. I want to have 3 layers of paint, matte, truck bed liner, and like a hammered black reflective type of paint. What a waste of time. Yeah, so when I painted this, originally I was upset. My family can attest, I had like a conniption that the paint was running through the masking tape. Oh my God, it didn't look perfect. It doesn't matter. I realized after I'm weathering the damn thing, I'm covering it in dirt, slime, and grease. Who cares? And honestly, the truck bed liner paint turned out so well, I would have covered the whole thing in it. I think having the booster ladder as a reflective metallic, and some parts of it matte, it did make I do like the finish of it. I don't regret what I did, but I mean, it was a lot of work and a lot of stress for no reason, because unless you want to have a pristine pack that looks like it's fresh off the table, which in ghost busting doesn't really exist. These are hodgepodge equipment built by, Dr. Egon Spangler and Ray Stantz. So it turned out fine. But one suggestion I will give about that truck bed liner. This stuff here, muy bueno. I don't know if it's available in outside of Canada. I just say that because there's a giant Canadian flag on the front of it. Worked great. I had 2 cans of it. Never had an issue. I'd also bought a couple cans of Dupli-Color truck bed liner. Do not buy that. I don't know what they put in it. I honestly think it's liquefied dog crap into an aerosol can. The first can sprayed about 2 seconds and jammed. Second can, maybe 15 seconds and jammed, and the finish wasn't that great. This stuff never had an issue, came out smooth, and looks wonderful. And one thing I'll mention, because it kind of concerns the sound effects a bit, is so what I did was, So the songs, the theme songs from Ghostbusters, all that were easily available on Spotify. The other songs, basically what I did was I went on YouTube, ripped those things into an MP3, put them onto my personal Spotify, put them in a playlist, and had them ready to go on my phone. So this was like strapped to the back of the motherboard, ready to go. I noticed there were some vendors online selling these sound effects, like the pack powering up, the overheating sound, things like that. I found it peculiar. I'm all for supporting small shops, small vendors, but when you're selling sounds you don't have the license for, I'm not really too concerned about that. So if you take my suggestion, if you can support people, Bennett Kent, all these different shops, you can support those shops in Etsy, go for it. I bought the Switch, the light kit, the Bennett Kent kit, my flight suit. I have the same tag with my name on it, like all that stuff I bought on Etsy. I was happy to support these guys, made great products, great everything, no complaints. But I mean, some things I'm just not paying for. So it worked out really well to rip those sounds, and got to say, I can't complain. Everyone was thoroughly impressed with the sound effects of the pack, regardless of how it was set up. Eventually, I would like to get a more permanent sound setup and replace the multiple masking taped batteries with a rechargeable 12-volt battery. The thing is, I knew nothing about soldering or electronics. I've said before, I'm more of a poor carpenter by trade, and I really don't work with electronics, so I had to teach myself soldering and all that stuff. It worked out well for the Switch. I was very concerned about scrapping my beautiful little Switch there. It turned out fine. But that's it. If you can support these small shops, do it. But I will also say, I touched on it a bit in another episode, if you're a vendor, don't take people's money and be like, yeah, man, it'll take 3 weeks and it takes, a year, whatever. Just be upfront. People who say oh, it's a work of passion. If you're selling goods or services and you're making money, it's a business. If you're not that big, then you're just a small business. It doesn't make a difference. I think it just cut everyone a bit more slack. If you're trying to get ready for Halloween and you ordered stuff September 10th, well, tough luck, But I think just in general, I think the last few years, if it's taught me anything, is cut people a little bit more slack. Unless they really deserve it, then come down and hard on them, okay? Otherwise, let's move on. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about weathering. And no, not the ridiculous climate in Canada where it was like 22 degrees Celsius last weekend and now it's like minus 15 or minus 10 or something outside. Anyway, moving on. One word for you for weathering, Sharpie. I could not believe how good this little silver Sharpie worked. The ghost trap, the weathering, was a technique I borrowed from Punish Props, where the entire trap was spray painted silver, and then I applied toothpaste to the scratch areas, painter black, wipe it off, looks great. Didn't want to do it with this thing, didn't have the time, and also the issues with mixing the paints. I didn't know how well it would turn out, and I didn't want to scrap the entire damn thing with a, have the entire Proton Pack look like this. I would not be so jovial in recording this video. I think this would be like a very, very dark YouTube channel. Luckily, things turned out great. So basically, all I did with this Sharpie, I'm trying to get a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about, is anywhere these edges are scraped up, I really just took the Sharpie, I just drew a line on it, I had a plastic glove on, smeared the line. And anywhere that there's weathering like that, literally all of the silver weathering on the pack was done with the Sharpie. So even the stock wand, to just try and make it match up a bit better, it was, I couldn't believe how well it worked. I thought I was going to have to mix up some silver paint and try and get a bit more detail on it. It turned out amazing. I'm going to do a video with my PKE meter, which is still kind of mint condition. I painted it, but I didn't really do much to it other than that. So I'll show how I weathered it, and simple, fast, easy, looked great. So other than this magic Sharpie right here, the only other thing I did to weather it was I took a bit of brown acrylic paint, mixed it with water so it's not too thick, slopped it all over the pack, wiped it up kind of messily, over the labels. Did the same thing with black, but that I left it a bit gummier so it looked kind of like grease on the pack. Put that wherever there's openings, things like that. And then, of course, I noticed a lot of people don't seem to do this on their packs, was a bit of green. I'm like, we're Ghostbusters. There's slime everywhere. What the hell? And it's even my trap, you can see on the bottom of there's extensive slime, which in my mind, it's on the ground, should be in the slime. That should make logical sense right here. This is all real life situations here. So a bit of acrylic paint mixed with water, just dab it on, wipe it off, especially in the cracks and crevices. Looked banger. Yeah, so if you're intending to weather the pack, which I strongly suggest you do, it looked beautiful when it was like freshly painted, but I mean, it came to life when I did the weathering on it. It really, like, it was night and day. People who were watching me as I built it, so it wasn't like the shock and awe of seeing it from the, out of the package to the final product. They were very impressed with the difference a little bit of weathering made on the pack. So one thing I want to eventually do, but I'm kind of cooling the spending on my ghost busting equipment as this kind of ran out of control, this pack build here. But I want to build some kind of jig that I can lay this down easier to work on it, because I find the ion arm is one of the few things that isn't actually properly bolted into the pack. It's glued and kind of wedged in there real tight. And I'd like to have something I can set it in where it'll be safe. Eventually I want to get like the, like a work toolbox thing with some foam in it, put that bad boy inside and keep it safe. But for now, I just leave it here and pray that the cats don't get curious. Okay, so as much as I love this beautiful pack right here, I want to talk about some of the disadvantages of the Spirit of Halloween pack. Primarily is the size. Like I said, nobody at the party, nobody at my work that I wore it to, nobody had any idea it was 80% the size. But for me, as a devout Ghostbusters fan, it's killing me that it's not bigger. So definitely that's one disadvantage. But I mean, it looks great if it's, especially if you're, like my personal frame, it makes it look even smaller on my back, which doesn't help. And my flight suit, like, I just fit into it. So it didn't have the illusion of this big bulky equipment on your back, which is more what I wanted. Another disadvantage is the actual plastic that it's made out of. It's very brittle, thin plastic. And I'm worried that over time, a cold night, a quick drop, just existing for a certain amount of time, it's going to get ready to break. I don't know if I want to maybe try some fiberglass inside of it or do something, or maybe just build a Q-pack. Who knows? But those are some disadvantages I thought I'd point out. Oh, another very important disadvantage, being from the Great White North and the beautiful country of Canada, where everything is more expensive and harder to get. These packs are like $88 American with duties, with everything. It comes near $140. I know that doesn't mean much to any Americans listening. They're like, I laugh at your funny colored money. But that's a lot of money for a Canadian. $140 for the plastic shell like that. When I bought this, I bought it off Amazon originally for $70 Canadian. So that's why it was not much of a thought. Whereas now, if I get to go down to Plattsburgh or somewhere sometime soon, maybe I'll be shopping for some plastic junk in some fine stores south of the border. So in terms of future projects, one thing I definitely want to do is I want to build like a full-size 3D printed pack, Q-pack, whatever it is, like a full-sized, let's light them up, let's go. But one thing I want to do maybe with the Spirit pack, because the Spirit pack is such a nice like stepping stone, a jump start to build these things without having to build the entire base yourself. I wanted to build like a super clean 84 pack, like the same kind of thing, but like this is more of like a Ghostbusters 2 ribbon, but clean, no weathering. Like have it look impeccable as though it came off of like a factory line, not built on a workshop bench somewhere. So that is something I'd like to do. I'd like to build my own personal Wes Dawson like crazy pack, almost similar to like the video game pack, the Ghostbusters the video game, PS4, whatever you want to call it. Where there's tanks coming off the sides, crank generators, power boxes, like just like obnoxiously crazy pack with as much noise and stuff on it as I could possibly hold on my body. So those are two things I'd like to do down the line. All right, so let's talk cost. Now, I'm not going to put an actual dollar value on this, quite frankly, because I'm embarrassed, a little bit ashamed, I won't lie. I probably put more into this than I should have. Just the paints alone, over $100. No exaggeration. I could have just bought a second Hasbro HasLab pack. But really, the build, it was a lot of fun. It was a learning experience. Like I said, I learned a lot of stuff about soldering, working with plastics, how quickly they melt, all kinds of things, 3D printing. So it did open up a lot of other, hobbies, venues, learning experiences. So I can't complain. But I certainly did spend a bit more on this than I rightly should have. And luckily, I bought most of it before Afterlife came out and the prices of everything doubled. These junky little Rothko frames, I bought it originally for like $65 or $70. They're up to $100-something. and they're a bit smaller. I mentioned that in a few videos ago. I know some current wish list things for this bad boy here is, well, the smoke ejector out of the end filter would be very nice. That'd be great. I don't know if anybody's seen that on Etsy. Basically, just it's like, from what I've seen, it's like a spring will pop out the end of your end filter, and then something pumps out a little mini smoke maker. Although I'm debating maybe just getting an old vape pen off a buddy and just shoot water vape out the back. Not to suck on Sour Patch Kids or anything, but see about that. Definitely replace the Neutrona wand. Like I said earlier, I think I'm just going to strap on that Spengler wand, and that'll be one job done. I don't have to worry about wiring anything. I just paint the handle black and we're good to go. I'd like to build a slime blower one day. That would be a dream project. That I have no idea how to even start that without just carrying 3 metal cylinders on my back. I don't know what people use to build that. I don't know if it's wood, plastic, but that'd be a fun thing to try and build. I'd love to build a Extreme Ghostbusters backpack and trap. The trap I think might be too complicated for my, like, because it's metal work, whereas just the welding of the basic pack I can do. I said I'm not a great carpenter. I'm an even poorer welder, but I don't mind giving a shot, seeing if I can. And one thing that, although this is long term, this is basically I've funneled out all of my kids' college funds. The wife doesn't know. I want to have a full Ecto one, and I don't care even if it's like an original. It could be a Suzuki Swift with the body of a '59 Cadillac put on top. I would like to have an Ecto one. I was going to say 10 years ago, but my God, it's probably 20 years ago or 25 years ago. I almost bought one down in Missouri. I found one online. It was only $4,000 American, which every penny I had saved in Canada would be enough to buy this beautiful vehicle. I asked my father, "Hey, can you help me try and get this thing here? Will you help me work on it?" And my dad was like, "You are an idiot." He's like, "Spend your money on whatever you want for sure." He's like, "Yeah, no problem." But then the big issue was the thing didn't have its pink slips, didn't have proper registration, and to get it registered and get it over the border was going to be tens of thousands. Like, it was so ridiculous. So that dream died. That's one problem. The reality of living in the beautiful country of Canada is the very moist temperatures, salt on the roads in the winter. Vehicles don't last very long. I was about to go on a rant on Hyundai there, but I'll save that for a different channel. All right, I don't feel this was overly long. I think I might be able to fit this into one video, or I'll go modern Hollywood style. I'll split that into like 6 full-length films. Who knows? A couple parting words I will say is, like I mentioned with the paint, don't worry about it being perfect. You're going to weather the damn thing. You want it to look beat up. You want it to look like you dropped it on its side and kinked something in. It's ghost-busting equipment. Don't go crazy over it. So let it be messy. The paint, don't go. Make sure you clean it well, you sand it well, and you get alcohol to clean it, because you want the paint to bond to the plastic. But I mean, the overall finish, it's supposed to look beat the hell up. Don't stress. It would have saved me a lot of restless nights. Well, that's not true, but I would be a little bit less stressed. Label everything. Take notes. Take reference pictures. This beautiful ghost trap here. This is actually an old garden hose quick connect. So I will eventually do a full video on this trap. It used to work. It used to actually open and close. The original pedal is, you can see it is mounted underneath the pedal that I built. Used to work. I gutted this beauty, and 6 months later, I went to put it back together. I was able to get these guys working again. Couldn't get the pedal to work. I don't know if it's the length of my wire to the pedal, if maybe it's too long, the battery doesn't have enough juice to get that far. I don't know if when I was pulling the wire through the split loom, or actually it's not a split loom, when I was pulling it through the loom, I think I may have split the wire inside of this somewhere. So anyway, now it's a nice little visual piece, but yeah. Also, I don't know if it's, the fake news, the globalists are after me, what's going on. I had the issues editing videos. My Instagram Ghostbusting West thing got deleted for like a week and a half. I had no idea why. There's nothing offensive on it other than this handsome mug. And the Facebook page got locked out too. So I don't know, somebody maybe tried to hack a page with like 70 followers. That's better use of your time than me playing with my plastic toys. But anyway, All right, well, that's it. Get the hell out of my workshop. Have a good night. No, thank you so much for watching. It's a lot of fun. I'm glad it's back. I'm going to see the audio quality after. The main issue I stopped doing the videos was my phone had a lot of issue with the audio lag. And as you can tell by this immaculate workshop, I'm a perfectionist. Well, in some degrees I am. That's why. So it was bothering me that this lag was happening. So I just said, screw it, I won't make any videos. And then also I was rushing so much to get this thing done for Halloween. I didn't have time to film any videos. So there's that to be said. Well, my name is Wes Dawson, and this has been Ghostbusting Wes. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell a family member. Hell, this holiday season, pretend that you're doing carols. Go door to door and beg people to follow my channel, watch my videos. It'd be greatly appreciated and probably a big waste of your time. Either way, it's been fun, and hopefully these videos will become a more regular deal. And you may have noticed, you may not have cared, at least now instead of ghostbusting.west, which was just awkward for everyone, straight up Ghostbusting West. I was able to change that on most platforms, so there's a bit of tidbit of information nobody really needed. Thanks again. See you next time.